Someone published a coding tool and developers around the world installed it.
It looked exactly like something a real company would ship.
Because an AI wrote it to look that way.
The company didn't exist.
The tell used to be the writing. A malicious package had rough edges, variable names that didn't fit, comments that felt off, the fingerprint of someone working in a second language under pressure. That edge is gone. North Korean state hackers used an AI to write a malicious NPM package, then had it introduced as a dependency in a commit to an open-source trading project, so any developer pulling that project would carry the payload home without ever touching the malicious package directly. The output was clean, consistent, properly commented, indistinguishable.
NPM is basically a giant library of free code that developers borrow from constantly, hundreds of millions of downloads a day. The whole ecosystem runs on an assumption that the package named what it says it is does what it says it does.
Malicious packages used to leave traces, inconsistent variable names, comments that felt off, the fingerprints of someone writing fast in a second language under pressure.
That's gone now. If the attacker is prompting a model to write the code, the output reads exactly like legitimate code written by a careful developer. There's no seam to find.
The payload here was a remote access Trojan, software that quietly opens a backdoor into your machine and lets someone else control it, bundled with a wallet drainer. You install the package, you get a background process you never asked for, and somewhere a North Korean operation now has a key to your system.
And they built fake companies around it, actual-looking software firms, fake recruiters, a whole infrastructure designed to make the package feel like it came from somewhere real.
Which is the part that keeps compounding. It's not just the code that AI is making more convincing. It's the entire context around the code, the company, the documentation, the GitHub history, the professional persona reaching out on LinkedIn.
Developers are already using AI to review code. There are tools that scan packages before you import them. But if the attacker is using the same models, trained on the same data, generating output that passes the same checks,
the scanner and the malware are speaking the same language.
The open source ecosystem has always run on trust. The whole model is someone built this, it works, other people use it. That implicit chain is what's being targeted. Not a single company, not a specific vulnerability, the trust itself.
North Korea has been running crypto theft operations for years to fund the weapons program. The ambition hasn't changed, but the ceiling on what's possible has, because the thing that used to give defenders an edge was that the attacker left traces. Now the attacker writes code that looks exactly like yours.
The question that doesn't have a clean answer yet is what verification even looks like when the thing you're verifying was built to be indistinguishable from the real thing.
North Korea is running fake companies to hide their hackers. Meanwhile, the universe might be hosting 2 stars to host its planets.
For a long time, astronomers assumed that a planet orbiting 2 suns was a freak of nature, like Luke Skywalker's Tatooine, a curiosity, an edge case. The logic made sense. 2 stars pulling on the same dust cloud at the same time should rip everything apart before worlds can form.
And that's true right up close. Near the 2 stars, it's chaos. Gravity yanking material in competing directions, nothing settles, nothing builds. But new computer simulations tracked what happens further out, past that inner chaos zone.
And past it, the math flips completely. The same gravitational tugging that destroys planet formation close in actually compresses the dust and gas at greater distances. Particles pile into each other faster. Worlds accumulate quicker than they do around a single star, like our sun.
So our solar system, 1 star, 1 planet with life, what we've been using as the template, might be the unusual one. Binary stars, 2 suns orbiting each other, make up roughly half of all star systems in the Milky Way. If planets form more efficiently around them, the galaxy has a lot more real estate than we thought.
And not just more planets. More planets that could sit in the habitable zone, the band of distance from a star where temperatures allow liquid water to sit on a surface, which is the condition we use as our baseline for life. 2 stars means that band is wider and more complex. Different geometry entirely.
We've been scanning the sky looking for other Earths, planets around single stars, in familiar orbits, matching familiar conditions. But if Tatooine is the norm and Earth is the exception, we've been searching the minority of the sky.
And ignoring the half that might be full of something. The question nobody has a clean answer to yet is what it means for the search for life if our single-star solar system is the outlier. Whether every detection method, every telescope pointing, every shortlist of candidate planets was built around the wrong template.
Closer to home, a town in British Columbia is taking OpenAI to court.
There's a detail in this lawsuit that's hard to get past. OpenAI apparently considered flagging the shooter's conversations about gun violence before the attack and decided not to.
The shooter was using ChatGPT to talk about gun violence. The platform apparently detected it, and then nothing.
7 families in Tumbler Ridge are now suing, and their argument isn't that ChatGPT caused the attack. It's that OpenAI knew something was wrong, had its own signal telling it something was wrong, and made a decision not to act on it.
The allegation is that they stayed quiet to protect the IPO, which, if true, means the calculation wasn't, is this a real threat? It was, what does this cost us?
That's the part that changes the legal question, because AI companies have generally operated on the idea that they're platforms. They move information around. They're not responsible for what people do with it. Same argument social media companies made for years.
But this isn't our platform was used to plan something. This is our platform saw something, told us about it, and we chose not to tell anyone.
That's a different chain of causation, and courts have not really dealt with that version of the question before.
If the lawsuit succeeds, if a judge says that detecting a threat and staying silent creates legal liability, every AI company with any kind of moderation or monitoring system has to rethink what those systems actually obligate them to do.
Which is almost all of them. These platforms flag things constantly. Harmful content, dangerous searches, conversations that trip internal wires.
And right now, what happens after the flag is entirely up to the company.
That's the version of the question that scales. It's not just OpenAI. Any platform with content moderation, any system that watches for dangerous signals, now has to decide what detecting something actually obligates it to do. And until a court rules on it, the answer is whatever the company decides.
Which means the decision is still a business decision. A 5-year-old just shipped a video game.
Like a real one.
Built it in 20 minutes. No typing, no code, just talking to an AI. Voice instructions, done.
Vibe coding has been spreading through developers for a while now, but it's moved somewhere nobody expected. Kids who can barely read, retirees in their 70s, people who never had any reason to think software was something they could build.
Right.
And that makes you wonder what the skill actually was, because we spent decades calling it specialized, the ability to make a computer do what you want. But maybe that was never the skill.
It was just the tax you paid because there was no better interface. And a kindergartner just stopped paying it.
No robot arm on the market can screw in a light bulb. That sounds like a joke, but it's genuinely true. The manipulation required is too unpredictable, too fiddly.
A Cambridge startup called Eka just built one that can. It chases a rolling bulb across a table, adjusts its grip mid-motion, picks up keys, hairbrushes, objects it has never seen before. No pre-programming for any of it.
The gap between robot demos and robot reality has always been that the real world doesn't hold still. Things roll. Surfaces aren't flat. Objects aren't where you expect them.
And every robot arm we've had until now needed the world to cooperate. Eka's arm doesn't seem to need that.
Which is either a small mechanical footnote or the thing that makes the last 30 years of robotics look like a very long warm-up.
Visa's now settling payments across 9 different blockchains.
9, and the volume grew 50% in a single quarter.
They've got stablecoin-linked cards. Stablecoins are a type of digital currency pegged to the dollar, running in over 50 countries. This isn't a pilot anymore.
The framing for years was that crypto and traditional finance were separate worlds, and the question was whether they'd ever connect. Visa just quietly answered that. The 5 new blockchains they added, Base, Polygon, Canton, Arc, and Tempo, aren't experiments. They're infrastructure.
And when Visa calls something infrastructure, the wall between the two systems isn't a wall anymore. It's just where Visa decided to build a door.
Back tomorrow.
Something's already happening that we don't fully understand yet.
That's usually where the good ones start.
See you then.
Singularity Pulse is for informational purposes only. Nothing here is financial, legal, or professional advice. Views expressed are our own.
I'm Knox. Every Saturday on Pulse Deep Dive, one story told in acts. This season, how AI happened, who really invented the internet, and going back to the moon 53 years later. New chapter every Saturday. Find it wherever you listen.
Origins is a different kind of show. Every Sunday, we investigate the forces that shape the modern world, the geography, the science, the commerce, the decisions made centuries ago that are still playing out today. Find it wherever you listen to this podcast.